Hello, everyone. Tania Gustafson here, your nutritionist and fitness coach. Welcome back to another episode of Fit Nutrition Podcast. Great to have you all here. So if you can just let me know where you're watching from, if you're watching live or on the replay. And today's topic, we're going to talk a little bit about stress and how we normally think of stress as being very, very negative. And most of the time it is. But today we're going to talk about those instances where stress can actually be beneficial to you, believe it or not. So there are some instances in which stress can be beneficial. So I want you to drop me a little comment down below if stress is something that you've been dealing a lot with lately. And let me know if you think maybe let me know if yours is negative stress or positive stress. Okay. And if you're experiencing both, hey, you can drop that in there too. So I think we all know basically what creates negative stress in our bodies, right? When we're just feeling heightened and anxious and maybe panicky or upset, we're short with people. Our temper is maybe a little bit elevated, right? We tend to react more than respond. And we're just living in that heightened state. And we've talked about this before, if you've been following along. So you can go back and watch the podcast on stress then if you missed it. But, basically living in a heightened stress level like that keeps all of your body's systems on high alert, where it wants to either fight or flee, right? That fight or flight mode. And being there at that heightened level for an extended period of time is kind of like driving in your car and, or even having your car parked in neutral and then putting your foot on the accelerator and revving it. Not so great for your car, And I like to use the car analogy a lot. If you follow me along, you notice that. Because really the car in the driveway or your truck, whatever vehicle you have, that gets you around town. It gets you around this world, around this earth where you live. In your area of the world, your body drives you through life. And so we need to make sure that we are managing the negative stress well and eliminating everything that we can so we can keep our internal inflammation low. And then, like we're going to learn today, adding in those positive things, positive stressors that can actually be beneficial to us. So let me just give you the definition, something here. Okay, so positive stress is otherwise known as hormesis. Okay, so hormesis basically means, I'm going to give you the Merriam-Webster medical definition for hormesis: a theoretical phenomenon of dose-response relationships in which something that produces a harmful biological effect at moderate to high doses may produce beneficial effects at low doses. Okay. All right. So things that if you have too much of it can be dangerous and damaging to your health, but having just the right amount can actually be beneficial. So let me give you an example that everyone can relate to. All right. You've either all been to the gym or know someone that's gone to the gym or seen somebody lift weights at some point in your life, right? Or done some heavy lifting or whatever. As we are doing that, as we are, working a muscle, doing our push-ups, whatever it is, when we're pushing ourselves to that limit, maybe you could only do 5 push-ups before, and now you're squeaking the last 2 out, and today you did 7. That's fantastic. That extra that you did above and beyond and worked those muscles, all those muscles that were involved in working to go beyond where you normally do, it causes stress in that muscle. It causes little tiny tears in our muscle that repair, and that causes the muscle to grow. And so it's beneficial because we're building muscle, right? You've heard about that, right? Building muscle. That's exactly how you build muscle. Is it takes tiny little tears in the muscle, and then it repairs and builds that up, and it becomes bigger and stronger than it was before. Okay, so that is a healthy way to put a stressor on your body. So stress in some way that you can understand, right? So it's a little bit of a hormesis there. Weightlifting, doing exercise. So I've been reading, I don't know if many of you follow along with Dr. Mark Hyman, but he is phenomenal holistic health practitioner, natural wellness, all of those kinds of things, but he is a medical doctor as well too. So he does have great perspective on both sides, and he's gone through a lot of health issues in his own life. And so I've been reading one of his books lately, his newest book actually, called Young Forever. So I'm not getting a plug or anything from Dr. Mark Hyman. I just wanted to let you know that it's a really good read if you're interested in all things that you can do to your body, for your body, to help you extend that lifespan. He does talk on blood sugar stabilization that we talk about. He does also, I'm going to let you know, he does talk about time restricted eating. So although not intermittent fasting, but making sure that you're, not eating super late, right before you go to bed, and then no snacking in the middle of the night kind of thing, and making sure that you just have, give your body a time of rest and break, so that when you do have breakfast, it is break the fast. Okay. So throwing that out there. All right. So hormesis, like I said, is that those things that you can do in small doses that will be beneficial, but in large doses, they are detrimental. So going back to the weightlifting analogy, if you put too much weight on that bar, you try and pick up too much, even if you're moving furniture or something, you all know that, right? We tried to lift too much too quickly, or at the wrong angle or something, and oh, there we go, we put out the back, or oh no, we pulled a hamstring or something like that, and then we're limping around for a couple of days. That was not beneficial stress in any way, shape, form, or fashion, right? It was painful, and it took time to recover, which meant that now you aren't in the gym, or you're not, moving furniture if that was your job, or you're not able to do the things around the house that you normally would do. So totally detrimental, didn't help you at all, right? So another example would be of something that is detrimental, but can also be beneficial, is cold therapy. So I'm sure many of you have heard of ice baths are supposed to be good for you and all those kinds of things. We also know that if you fall into a frozen pond and you're in there too long, it's not beneficial because you get hypothermia. But in those small doses, the cold plunge and then coming back out triggers, gets things going and moving inside your body, and helps to repair and rejuvenate, and helps you. It actually is extending to your life. So any of these things that cause stressors, but that are incidental and smaller, and you stop them before the damage is coming on you. So obviously you're not going to sit in an ice bath for super long time, but we've all heard of athletes that will sit in an ice bath for a little while to help reduce inflammation, to help speed up healing if they have torn muscles and things like that. So it really does get things moving and help to repair some damage inside your body. And anytime we can reduce inflammation and repair some and speed up the healing or repairing of any damage inside, then we're slowing down that aging process. And aging is, inflammation is the root cause of all disease, and inflammation causes the aging. So it's really not about, oh, I have this condition, or I have that condition, or I have this condition, and then you're taking a different medication for each condition. It's more like, okay, I've accelerated aging so much that I now have ABC or ABCDEF, whatever it happens to be. So maybe if I worked on slowing down some of the things that is causing the aging process to speed up. So maybe if I can reverse a few of those things, I might then slow down that process and speed up the healing process, which is only going to be beneficial. All right. And some of these things aren't comfortable, like really, honestly. Who really thinks that going and sitting in an ice bath is really comfortable? If that's you, raise your, drop a 1 down below if you're super, and put a little water splash or something if you love sitting in the cold ice bath. That is not me. I know that my youngest daughter does that. Her and her boyfriend, they will go to the lake or to the creek or whatever, even in winter, really early in the morning, and get that going. And so they're activating their longevity, telomeres and stem cells and all of those kinds of things are activating things that promote longevity in their bodies and in their health. So on the opposite end of the spectrum now, another thing that you can do is heat. And again, too much heat, right? If you get too hot, you're out in the sun too long, you can get sunstroke or heat stroke. And that can be very detrimental. You can have the headaches, you can have an actual fever, you can be vomiting and be sick for days. Totally not beneficial. But sitting in a sauna, infrared light therapy, even just sitting in a hot bath or a hot tub for a little bit, something like that, where it elevates your body temperature for a short window of time, but not so much where it's going to overheat your brain like sunstroke or heat stroke, then that's beneficial as well too. And that's activating some more of those longevity factors within inside your body. So he's got a whole list here that I was really quite fascinated with, and that's why I wanted to share with you. So these are credit to Dr. Mark Hyman. The list is credited to him. All of these things doctors and scientists have known for many years. As health practitioners, though, health practitioners don't normally recommend doing these kinds of things. They might normally recommend, if you've been to your family doctor, they might recommend that, you have your iron checked. They might recommend that you have some vitamins. They might recommend that you have, maybe some glucosamine or something for your joints. And that's pretty much about as far as they're going to go. Unless the practitioner that you're seeing is maybe a holistic practitioner, a naturopathic doctor, something like that, where they are looking at the whole person and they are looking at all the things that we can do to support slowing down aging, to support healing, to support longevity, and all of those kinds of things. And so those are, so the extreme exercise or the lifting of weights, intense movement, and so like the HIIT training, the Tabata, that stuff where you have a burst of energy and you are you get really sweaty, you can't talk, you're like you're gasping, it's that takes your breath away kind of thing. That's some stressor on your body again that's going to trigger some longevity response. So because we talked about the lifting of weights, right? That little bit is great, that creates that little tear, promotes some healing, gets you stronger. The amp that up a little bit. Obviously, if you do too much and you get your heart rate racing and you're, you can't bring it down and everything, that can be damaging and detrimental. And you might, injure yourself as well. And then, like I said, you're, pulled a muscle or you've hurt something and you're flat on the couch for a week or two. That's not going to benefit anybody because, you can't even do the other stuff that you were, your regular everyday stuff, let alone trying to get those extra longevity exercises in or something like that. Okay. So hard exercise really helps. The cold therapy, another effective technique, heat therapy, and red light therapy, saunas, all of that kind of stuff. Another one is deep breathing. All that deep breathing in. A lot of times we are shallow breathers as humans. Okay. So thinking about this, what you do for a job, or if you're a mom, what you're doing through the day, whatever it is, whatever you do, whether you go out to work, whether you work at home, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether it's, kind of part-time here and there, think of what you're doing during the day and how much oxygen are you actually breathing in when you're breathing? Because a lot of times as we're sitting, doing work, focused, concentrating, even maybe sitting down, if you're a mom with little kids and you're reading to them, we're just very shallow breathers and we're only breathing from the top part of our lungs. It's like, so start paying attention as you're sitting in your car, as you're going about your day. How often are you actually breathing all the way in and breathing all the way out, filling your lungs right up to where they need to be, right? Not very often, unless we are consciously thinking about it. So I've just got my little list here. So breath work and hypoxia, so low oxygen states. So again, depriving yourself of oxygen is obviously, fatal when you do it for too much, but holding your breath underwater, learning to breathe in, hold it there, and then breathe out and hold it there. And again, doing those kinds of breathing exercises is actually healthy and beneficial for you because you're expanding your lung capacity. If you're expanding your lung capacity and bringing in more oxygen, and then it gets through into your blood. Blood flow is life. Oxygenation to more parts of your body, more oxygenation to more parts of your body is just more beneficial to you, right? So thinking about those kinds of things. So that's another one. Again, with oxygen, hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So that's something else. You can go into a chamber. You may or may not have that facility in your city or your town, but you can Google that, and they're popping up everywhere. They're very fashionable and popular now, but they're also very good for you, just to get more oxygen infused into your blood in a short period of time, and just give you that much more energy as well too. Ozone therapy, light therapy, and phytochemicals are other things that he talks about as well too. So more things that we would think, oh, I had too much of that. It's probably not a good idea, right? But in small doses, it's actually creating that response that's going to be pushing your body just a little bit. So thinking about that old adage that says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, that's exactly probably the best way to describe hormesis. So think about those things that we just talked about. I'll just run through them once again to recap, because there's certain ones that you can do today and now, every day, if you wanted to. There's a handful of those that you can do every day. And you don't have to start with all of them. Start with one. Pick one. So let's run through the ones that are simple that you can do at home or anywhere, wherever you are. So hard workout, that lifting of, increasing your weights, or the HIIT training where your heart rate is going up and coming back down frequently. Tabata training where it's 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, in cycles of about a minute, depending on what your fitness level is. Of course, you start with that, but doing that in small blocks of time, a few different times a week, really up levels your fitness. And when our fitness level is better, our health is better, our strength is better. Therefore, we're activating those longevity pathways, right? So there's the exercise, the extreme exercise. It helps is a hormetic activity. Cold and heat. So if people say, oh, I don't have a plunge, I don't have a plunge tub or whatever, I don't really know where to go for that. Doesn't matter. You can also just turn on your cold shower. Turn it on, get it good and cold. I mean, the water doesn't heat up right away anyway for most of us, right? So when it's cold, just get underneath there. Just dive in, just do it. Or fill your bathtub up with cold water. If you happen to have a hot tub, you could fill the bathtub up with cold water and then zoop, quickly hop into the hot tub, and you have both of those things going on, or a sauna. And if you don't have either one of those, you can still do it where you can have a hot shower and then a cold shower. So thinking of ways that we can be creative and start activating some of these pathways that we have never tapped into before, because they are resources for our health. Last one that you can do anywhere, anytime is the deep breathing exercises. So thinking about how you can expand your lung capacity, how you can breathe beyond that shallow top bit up here, where you can breathe all the way down into your gut, all the way into your back ribs, and see how you can expand the lung capacity. Our lungs are all the way around us, and we're only ever using such a small little bit of it. Let's try and expand and use all parts. All right, so there's just a few things. 4 things that you can do out of Dr. Hyman's list that you can probably do anywhere, anytime, no matter where you are. And then you can start activating some of those longevity pathways and slow down the aging process within your body. So thank you for watching Fit Nutrition Podcast today. Love to hear if you're doing any of these things already. Please drop it in the comments below and let me know. If you're not doing anything, but you are committed to trying one, drop that below too, and then come back and let us know how that worked, because I would really love to hear what you're experiencing and what you're feeling after doing that for a couple of weeks, right? Always love to hear how people's health journey is going. So thanks again for watching, you guys. See you back here, same time next Wednesday with Fit Nutrition Podcast here in the group. Have an awesome rest of your week.